So, now remember we had a question about, shall I put this writing at the end of the Gantt chart? And I said, wait. This is what I was waiting for. So here's a simple little budget layout for a particular grant. Okay? And you see I've used those same headings over here. All right? And what I do is salaries, 100, bursaries, 150. Don't worry about the numbers. For now, we're just using simple little numbers. And I add up the labor costs. I add up the operating costs. I add up the capital. And then I get a thing called the total direct cost. Okay. I haven't spent much time talking about direct and indirect costs, but this is what Roelof's question's about. So direct costs are the things that I use for my project. The opposite, an indirect cost, is a thing that I can't say that is only used for my project. So let's say our project today is sitting around these tables. So the tea that we'll have, the lunch that we'll have, and the paper and these folders, they are direct costs. Why? Because we will use them for our workshop. But the electricity and the garden service and the security at the gate over there, are they only applied to this workshop? No, they will be here all the time. This room, this building is using electricity and the security and the library. It's there all the time. So those are called indirect costs. You can't relate them directly to a particular project. Okay, we'll come more to that in a moment. So we're just, for now, dealing with the direct costs. That projects are always, they generally have three components in: scope, cost, and quality. So the scope of the project will affect its cost. The quality of the project also affects the cost. So, you know, if you were, who in their budget for the Queen decided to use gold-plated cups or something like that? You know, the quality is going to, you had gold-plated cups. You were hiring it, okay. All right, so if you know the ballpark, but you see the ballpark of the cost of the project will also shape the scope. So, you know, if I said to you, you know, 30,000 Rand maximum, they wouldn't have been able to subcontract James Bond. So it immediately shapes the size of your research project. So now tell me, those who've had experience of budgeting, when you do your budget, did you start off by thinking, this is the research that I want to do, and then you see what it costs? Or do you look, this is what the typical funder will pay for, so I'm going to shape my research project that way? So I think if you are getting other funding for the project, then you need to put that down. So I wouldn't necessarily, and I would never say it's for free. I would say there's an in-kind contribution to this, because as I was saying, I don't think anything comes for free. There's always a cost. You might not know what the cost is, but so rather put it in as an in-kind contribution. But it's good to show, look, I'm suggesting to the NRF to cover this cost, but I have funding from the university past, another funder, whatever. And so, because it gives a sense, it's a real project, somebody else has taken that risk, awarded you money, and now I'm looking for funding for another part. I like this thinking about modular. Have this big research project that your career, your research depends on, but if you can make it modular and break it up and send it to different people at different times, that's a good thing. Okay. But it also means that if you don't get funded for the whole bang shoot, it doesn't mean that you're sitting now doing nothing and there's no progress on your research. Something is happening all the time. So that's a good approach. Did everybody hear that point? Remember, every time you get a grant, there will be a written rule that you're going to have to report on progress. Typically, they're annual reports, as including a final report that covers the whole, if it's a 3-year or 5-year or whatever grant. So reporting is a key element of this whole thing. And often we don't talk about it, and then people come short. What also that points to is, if you make this too fine and too detailed, you can actually create a difficult situation for yourself, because if a funder says, all right, running 50 Rand, do not spend more on running than 50 Rand. But because of the project, especially if it's a 5-year project, how do you know what's going to happen in the 5th year? Do you really? The truth is, I think none of us do. We might have an idea, but if you make it too specific, you tie yourself up in a knot if they insist that you're not allowed to move. Now, the NRF is sort of at the level of, so long as these levels, the subtotals don't change, they're fairly happy with it. For example, in their bursaries, you would apply for a master's, 2 masters and a PhD bursary. When they give it to you, they would give you a lump sum, and you could end up, if you could afford it out of it, giving 2 PhDs and 1 master's, for example. They do give you a bit of flexibility. But not all funders do that. So too much detail gets you into trouble. Too little detail won't get the grant. So again, another fine line to negotiate. So some funders do that. They don't give you the whole lot up front. They give it to you on milestone delivery. So hence again, Gantt charts are very important, because you put those milestones in your Gantt chart, and then when you've agreed that you've delivered it based on your report, then they release the next tranche of money. So yes, that is another way that funders hold you accountable and get the projects completed. So not all funders do that though. Last night we submitted a 12 million Rand melon grant, and the way they do it is they give you the full amount up front. It's a 5-year grant, but you've got to build into your budget the interest that you earn on their money, and you've got to show how you're going to use the interest. And in fact, if you say my budget will be 12 million Rand, they give you a little bit less, because they know you're going to earn interest, and it makes it up. So you can't say, oh, interest is extra and bonus, and I'll do whatever I want with it, related to the project, of course. They become more and more shrewd and tie you into this. In fact, it's one of those grants we also have to contribute 10% of. So of the 12 million that it costs, you've got to say 10% comes from Wits, 90% comes from Melon. So those things have to be worked in as well.